All right. So the Health Insurance Probability and Accountability Act, or HIPAA, was enacted in 1996 to protect American families from the dangers of losing their health insurance coverage. Mainly, it was designed to provide workers with insurance portability during a job change or loss. Its second purpose is to ensure that the security and privacy of individuals' health information. So, in early history, this act was signed into law by President Bill Clinton on August 21st, 1996, and the act aimed to alter the transfer of healthcare information, stipulated the guidelines in which personal identifiable information maintained by the healthcare and healthcare insurance industries can be protected from fraud, theft, and addressed some limitations on healthcare insurance coverage. Now, Scrap, I think a couple of months ago we had a breach on one of those, didn't we? Or maybe even last year.
There was the VA got the VA actually had a large cybersecurity breach.
Okay.
I believe not that long ago.
I think it was the VA and also 23andMe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's right. It's in my intro. There you go, Kels. All right. So
that's what I was going to ask about.
Exactly. So the key events to this, we got 1996, HIPAA was enacted to provide workers with insurance portability during a job change or loss. 1998, the Department of Health and Human Services, or HHS, proposed a security rule to better protect the individual health information shared by health plans, healthcare clearinghouses, and healthcare providers. In 2003, the privacy rule was finalized, defining protected health information, PHI, as any health-related information that can be used to identify a particular individual. And then, finally, in 2005, the security rule, which enacted to standardize the handling of electronic PHI by providing specific guidelines or physical, technical, or administrative safeguards. So,
is that the most recent update to HIPAA?
I believe so. I mean, unless they did something during Obamacare.
Well, the reason I ask that is, largely I consider like 2009, 2010 when being online was kind of normalized, where most, at least in America, most people had a Facebook account or email, whatever it was. 2005, it was still kind of rare. You were kind of the weird ones if you were like, active and online a whole bunch. So in this day and age where everyone's online on social media, it'd be crazy to me, which I'm not surprised, honestly, if it hasn't been an update, but I feel like there should be, to kind of like bring it up to to modernize it, essentially.
Right, because long gone are the days of like filing paperwork in a filing cabinet, and I think that's
now 23andMe, Ancestry. I mean, there was a DNA test I did for my dog, so it's just like there's all this data that's just online. Like basically our whole existence is online. And when it comes to medical stuff, if you're getting your prescriptions, I've got a prescription through CVS and they send me a text and then I go on and like confirm. It's all online, and so it's like there needs to be safeguards, like it says here, to protect, the average person. But there's just so much. It's almost like a giant flood and you're relying on a dam that beavers built to protect you, It just seems like, oof.
Yeah, the technical overhead when it comes to organizations like the one that's for my day job, where I look at things where, like, if I click, if I don't technically have to look at medical records in general, but sometimes I file them if they're submitted at a certain time. However, like, yes, I can see the pictures that your doctor takes for your colonoscopy, like, and I don't want to, all right, but I can. However, here's the thing, is like the technical overhead to protect the pictures of your backside is extraordinary. And companies go to extraordinary lengths to make sure that the pictures of your personal life are kept confidential. It
And
is
don't end up on
not a
OnlyFans.
joke. It's not a
But that's
joke.
one aspect. That's just photos,
He
and
said
I'm kind of
aspect.
looking at this as a. That's only one part of it, though.
Wait, I
Like
need
I'm
the
thinking of
ticker.
like.
Discretion advised.
Viewer discretion.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know this is like a very lucrative industry if you're one of these companies that safeguard that information, but there's just so much information nowadays, and it's all online, and it's weird. Like every now and again, this was like popularized with Facebook of all places, where you really start reading the fine print, and it got so crazy that South Park made a joke about it with the human centipede pad,
Yeah.
where
Oh,
you checked accept, you clicked yes on the terms and conditions, and we do that all the time, and yeah, it's a crazy time to be alive, boys. It's a crazy time with our colonoscopy pictures just out there in the wind.
it can be.
Exactly.
I'm sure they are.
So let's go over some of the historical medical cases where there actually were issues in violations and penalties. So the Exelis Health Plan in 2017, they agreed to pay a $5.1 million settlement to allegations that it had impermissibly disclosed the protected health information, or PHI, of over 10,000 individuals. Then you had also in 2017, Memorial Hermann Health System. They agreed to pay $2.4 million to settle allegations that had impermissibly disclosed a PHI of 1,000 individuals. And then Manassa Health Center LLC in 2019 agreed to pay $30,000 settlement allegations that impermissibly disclosed PHI of 4 individuals, which doesn't seem like a lot. I mean, that's about $7,500 a person.
It's basically putting a slap on the wrist of somebody's IT department.
Well, and the other reason that this is so important too is because you think about what some people and jurisdictions wanted to do during COVID when the hospitals started filling up. They're like, oh, you're vaccinated? You're not? Well, there's two of you and we've got one bed open. Who's going to get it? Right? And so this information now, like that's why it's so important to protect it, is because it's none of your business if I'm a smoker or if I'm vaccinated or whatever, you pick, like take your pick on what the actual issue is. But now, if this information is just so publicly available and it's not safeguarded, right? How are we going to, interact with each other? How are hospitals and insurance, all that stuff? How is that going to really play out?
That's a big mess. The insurance game is a big mess, and that's kind of the arena I work in. I don't work for an insurance company. I work for something that's trying to fix that and do something better with that. I won't go into detail, but there are problems with that right there. And these things with your privacy, you should be able to go to a provider, to a doctor, and say, Doc, this is what's going on with me. You should be honest with them. You should tell them everything, because it's his practice. That's his thing. This is what he does. He's here to help you, or she. They're there to help. And if you withhold certain information, they can't make, good decisions. They can't make accurate decisions, right? The biggest problem that comes into play is when the insurance companies start messing with it. When these big conglomerate medical corporations, where fewer and fewer doctors there for a long time were working on their own. They were just underneath of some other big label, rubber stamp, whatever. And specifically, the biggest issue that's came up with that, it's not necessarily has to do with HIPAA, but when you mentioned vaccines, I remembered that Aetna, the Blue Cross Blue Shield, just had some documents that went out and got leaked. I saw a lady doctor on X post that she would have had some like $6 million or something ridiculous, some ridiculous amount of money. Don't quote me, but ridiculous amount of money if she had, instead of treating her patients the way she did, gone and actually made them vaccinated and encouraged them to get vaccinated, she would have had a kickback from Blue Cross Blue Shield just to stick a jab in their arm. And that's not cool. You know, you're dangling this massive green money bag carrot in the faces of doctors, and you're getting them to compromise their first do no harm. You know, that's their Hippocratic oath, is first do no harm, and you're getting them to just ignore potential harm. You know, I'm not saying these vaccines have objectively harmed or not. We still don't have a lot of good data on them yet. We have some anecdotal, and we have some weird stuff happening across the board. But when these doctors get compromised on these kinds of levels, they're stuck in between whether it's incentives or bureaucracies or whatnot. And then because what the insurance companies want is your personal data, your protected health information, because they want to know everything from the get-go, so that way they can go, nope, not paying you for any of this.
Well, I have I have a Hyundai car, right? And one of the features that they show you is like, hey, you could save money on your car insurance, right? Let us track you and your driving habits, and then you submit that to your insurance company, and you can get better rates. And so it sounds all dandy and good, but they know how fast you're going, they know how hard you're turning, how often you brake, et cetera, et cetera. They know when you're certain places, when you're not certain places, how often they've all this crucial data, and they paint it in this picture that, hey, it's only going to save you money. It's not going to hurt you. Okay, right now it doesn't. But what about 5 years from now? What about 10 years from now? Right? When will it flip and this stuff, start being used against us? Like, hey, sorry, you don't actually you don't qualify for the gold plan of our insurance program. I'm sorry, you only get the bronze level coverage. We see that you actually you like to speed 34% of the time, and I'm sorry, Gold Star members, they don't speed above 15% of the time. And so this is not health related, but this is just what it makes me think of, and this is the problem, the larger problem that we're talking about with all this like very personal data that's out there. And insurance companies are, first of all, there's data leaks, there's companies that buy the data legally, and you know who knows where this goes. But
Well, it's the same thing with advertisers. Advertisers have it's the same issue where Facebook or Instagram or the Meta or somebody gets your information and sells that as third party, and then that's how you're able to get all those ads to come back on things. It knows when you go sit on the toilet every single day, which is like very, very strange. We've already been talking about colonoscopy.
and this is before AI. This is like we're so close to AGI, and this is like all this stuff was going on before that stuff. So it's only going to get worse. So buckle up, boys.